Tonight we're gonna experience what rum has to offer and why rum is such a special spirit category. My name is Nicolas. I have the pleasure to do this tasting tonight with you. Instead of Ben, Ben was supposed to do the tasting, but unfortunately he turned sick and he had to go to the hospital. That's why it's gonna be with me, that you spend the evening together, and together we're gonna explore some rum. Let me check. My dear friend Kai just posted me that everything is fine, running backstage, no problems, so we can continue to have a great evening, or we can start to have a great evening. Why rum? Well, I believe that rum is actually the most complex spirit on earth. I do understand that saying this out loud on a whiskey channel is maybe not the best idea, but I truly believe that. And my background is in the rum world, so basically I'm a distiller myself and I work with rum every day. I have the company called Vagemood where we import rum from all over the world and age them in North Germany in our warehouse and age them in special casks and all these kind of things. But I distill rum myself as well. I'm actually a master sommelier, one of 14 in the world. So rum is basically all my passion is turning around rum. Love it. And before we start the tasting, I would like to discuss with you how we taste properly, because as you can see, this is a nosing glass. If you have one, I would be very glad that you use it. If you even have 6, that would be even better. But don't worry if you only have one. If you don't have one, please feel free to use a wine glass. Wine glass is doing the job perfectly fine. Why this type of glass and not like a simple tumbler is because the experience the rum has to offer, and this is for every spirit. It doesn't matter if you drink whiskey, cognac, rum. This type of glass will increase the enjoyment out of your rum, out of your spirit. Why is that? We have the stem. We hold the glass like this to make sure that we don't heat up the liquid with our hand. We don't want to do that because by heating it up, we will manipulate the taste, how the rum, how the whiskey, how the cognac tastes. I like to compare that with wine. If you, by changing temperature, you change the awareness of the different tastes, basically. So, by heating something up with your hand, you will increase the sweetness. It tastes sweeter, and it's gonna taste more sour. What is that? Acid. The acidity comes through more strong. While when you cool it down, it tastes less sweet, so a bit drier, but at the same time, it's like the tannins are a bit stronger. That's why, on general, we drink white wine a bit more chilled compared to red wine. Because if we would warm up the white wine, which happens sometimes if you leave the glass for too long, the acidity starts to rise and you lose the balance. The same thing happens if you would chill a red wine. The tannins would be too strong and you lose the balance. Okay, so that's why we don't heat up the glass with our body temperature and we hold it by the stem. What happens then? If actually, basically, the perfect drinking temperature for spirits is 16 degrees, but I think if we go with room temperature, on average, that's more than fine. If you, of course, right now in Brazil with 30 degrees, maybe you want to cool it a bit, but apart from that, room temperature is fine. We don't need to go too deep down the rabbit hole. And then we have that tulip shape that serves us to increase the contact with oxygen to open up the flavor. You experienced that probably before with a very heavy bottle of red wine. You open the bottle, pour it in the glass, and it's quite stiff. It hasn't opened up yet, and it tastes harsh and maybe a bit bitter even. After giving it 30 minutes, breathing, you open up all the beautiful bouquet of the wine. The same thing happens with our spirit, but not as intense. It's a bit, but it's a beautiful development. And then you have that tulip shape, which narrows down on top to help you to get the full concentration of smell, basically. Because we don't taste that much. We don't only taste things like sweet and salty, and sour, but the rest is actually our nose. So the nose is the most important part to taste something, and if we would block our nose, well, the experience wouldn't be as good. At the same time, if we use a tumbler like this and you smell like this, basically there's too much space for the smell to evaporate, and you won't get as intense basically impression of the spirit. So please take your time to smell like for 1 or 2 minutes if you're patient enough, yeah, on your glass, because this is actually where the magic happens. And then if you put it into your mouth, leave it for a few seconds rolling around your tongue. And so without further ado, this is now enough when it comes to theory. Let's pour ourselves a nice glass of rum and start with our bottle number 1. As you can see, I've done a little cheeky tasting before. I've just done the German version as well, like between, what was it, like 7 till 8. So yeah, I've tried all of them just now. Lucky me, yeah. So we can start all over again with you on my side. You can see here, yeah, you have your little tasting with all your little bottles and with basic informations on the label inside the box. And let's start with number 1. Number 1 is actually, I've done the, we built the tasting set together. And number 1 is my main product. The Vagemood, it's my company from North Germany. This is me, by the way. I had to put my name on it, of course. And this is a PX Cask from Barbados. So what we do is we import rum from Barbados from Foursquare Distillery, which was aged for 10 years in ex-bourbon barrels in Barbados. Then we import it to Germany, and then we re-age it in or the second aging takes part in freshly emptied Pedro Jimenez sherry casks. Okay, and this actually, it's something very special, and let me tell you in a second why it's so special, because I have to, I have to take a little sip. So yeah, feel free to take your glass, and thank you for being here tonight. And I wish us all a great evening, yeah? Cheers. All right, so in the nose, you already got like this beautiful, you got the red fruit, more like plums as well, but combined with the oakiness. I love it, so good. Basic idea behind this rum was to give something to open up, for all these people who were not that much into spirits, but they start to get interested, but they don't want to handle too harsh flavors. I wanted to give them up to start in a very smooth way into the spirit journey, and that's why I like to put this at the beginning of a tasting, because of the smoothness. So yeah. You have the beautiful oakiness, which is fighting with the red fruit sweetness. But why do we have the touch of sweetness without adding sugar? Because that was a very important part for me as well. I wanted to give like an entry-level rum without adding sugar, without adding any vanilla flavor, which was always, especially back in the day, so common. So what we did. All right, so basically, what is a PX cask, yeah? PX stands for Pedro Jimenez. Pedro Jimenez is the sweetest wine on earth, containing 480 grams of sugar per liter, which is insane. It's literally like a syrup. Let me show you. Because I've done the tasting just now, I've got my whole setup. All right, guys, this, can you believe it? If I tell you that this is a white wine. Yeah, you think I'm crazy now, don't you? Actually, this is Pedro Jimenez sherry. So, what we do to produce Pedro Jimenez sherry, you pick the grapes and you let them rest on like these mats in the sun, so they get dehydrated, they get dried by the sun. And then you have the raisins, you press them and you start making wine out of it. You start fermenting them, but then you add like a wine distillate to stop the fermentation, and that's why you keep the sugar content. And because we made the grapes to raisins, the sugar content per liter is extremely high, and that's why we got the extreme sweetness. And then that stuff was aged for like around 10 years in a cask. And that's the result. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Can you see like the syrupy texture? And the smells just, let me have a little cheeky taste, yeah? And it's so good. It has nothing to do with like, I don't know where you're from, but like, I'm from Germany, and in Germany, sherry has a very bad reputation. Nobody drinks it. They use it for like cooking and stuff. But sherry, actually, it's awesome. We should drink way more sherry. But the whole sherry cask market, it's all an illusion. Sherry casks basically don't exist, yeah? What happens is they take casks, they fill them with like very young wine for like 18 months. They get rid of the wine, they make vinegar out of it, and then they sell it to Scotland and to the Caribbean to age whiskey and rum. What is so special about our stuff? Two things. First of all, we use proper sherry cask. They have been used for at least 10 years for the whole proper sherry process in the making. At least 10 years, up to like 35 years. Pretty cool. Now, I was so lucky. That's like probably, it's not once in a lifetime a chance, but it's like a chance like 3 times in a lifetime maybe. It's my first time. There was a bodega which got, I actually don't know if they got bankrupt or if they just stopped, like closed the facility, whatever. And I got their proper sherry cask, like from the Solera system, because basically sherry casks don't exist because they never get rid of the Solera system. They always stay. They never empty the cask completely. They always empty just a bit and then top it up with the cask above. So real sherry casks don't exist, but now I had the chance to get the proper sherry cask. And especially sherry casks are considered to be amazing after like 100 years. So I got these 100 years sherry cask. How cool is that? It's pretty awesome. I feel very privileged about that fact. So what we do is, as I told you, we have these already very special sherry casks. But what we do after each filling, after we empty the rum, we refill the casks with this type of quality of proper PX sherry. Not that like young wine stuff, which normally you can't do because like, let me show you. What happens is sherry, it's a protected region from in Spain, so it needs to be bottled and filled in Spain and under like government supervision. Is that the right word? I don't know. So what happens, this is Madeira, but it's the same thing with sherry. It's sealed with like the government seal, yeah? So every bottle you open is always sealed with a government seal. All right. So basically you can't buy sherry in bulk, but we can. We have a special license. We're just like one of 4 or 5 companies on earth who are allowed to export sherry from Spain in bulk. And what we do after we empty the cask, we refill them with the proper drinking sherry. Like this is a sample of the sherry I have in my production. And we refill the barrels with that type of sherry, which is amazing. You can't compare it with anything what is used for like sherry casks in the spirit world. And we let it rest, let the cask soak in. Then we empty the casks. And I have to tell you, we always forget just a small drop of sherry inside. What can I do? You know, we always do the same mistake, unfortunately. And that's a secret why we have that like touch of sweetness to our rum. Yeah. What do you think? How you like it? It's a nice entry, isn't it? Just to start the tasting. Let me check. Martin, good evening. Well, these signs I can't read, unfortunately. You're doing dry January. Are you asking me? I'm not. I've never done it. Yeah, as Martin said, who cares about that? I hope Ben is okay. Yes, he's okay. He's fine. He can't do the tasting, but he's in good health. So I was a bit shocked, like, yeah, when I heard, yeah, but he's not in danger or something. I'm like, yeah, well, thanks God. I wasn't expecting anything. Big fan of PX, great. As dessert, also a fan of PX cast finishings. Yeah, me too. Love it. I'm glad you like it. All right, guys. Because for me it's very important, you know, I've done a tasting once. I was a guest at a tasting. And first I explained everything about production and then we did the tasting. So we had like 45 minutes of talking and then we did the tasting. I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. It was very boring and I really wanted the glass, you know. So what I'm gonna do tonight with you, I'm using each sample to explain you a bit about production, about the history and stuff. So like that, the information they make actually much more sense and we are able to follow much better this information because we can taste what I'm explaining. We can taste the effect of this part of production, what I think works very well. So our second sample, please feel free to pour your second bottle. It's Noir Pure, it's called. Let me show you the bottle. I've got the bottle here. All right, there we go. That's the stuff. It's a rum from Belize, which is filled by 34.7 degrees. And it's 14 years old, aged in Banyuls cask, which is a sweet wine from France, which it's quite a small production. It's a sweet wine, but here there was no magic, there was nothing left in the cask. So that's why actually the rum will taste surprisingly dry, even though we have a cask which used to contain a sweet wine. The nose is quite rich. I was always surprised by that. I just mentioned in the other tasting that normally rum from Belize is quite light. It's very light style. Column still produced rum, but in this, when it comes to this one, we have a much stronger character. It's much richer. We have even a hint of like ester, not much, but just a hint. So in a blind tasting, I would have said we definitely have like, maybe even we do. I'm not sure. Yeah. But for me, it tastes like we have a pot still part in it. It's quite rich, isn't it? It's very well balanced. That's what I like about this sample. But it's smooth, but not sweet. You know what I mean? So I like to showcase with this the immense effect on the type of cask we use. And want to show you with this one as well that we don't really get sweetness out of a cask if we don't pour anything in it. And yeah, I've done many like experiments. I'm one of the leading experts when it comes to cask aging. So I have the biggest cask selection on earth. I don't have by far the most amount of cask, but the different types of cask, I have the biggest selection actually. And I've done lots of work and research on cask aging, and as well working like to get the sugar content to explore how much sugar we are able to get out of the different types of wood, which is extremely low. What do you think? What do you think? If you would guess, how much gram per liter of sugar do you get from like American oak, which is very high in vanillin, for example, where you get this like vanilla flavor? What do you think? It's under 0.5 grams per liter. So there's really like nothing, it doesn't taste sweet. The highest sugar content was actually from walnut oak, walnut wood, but it's 0.6 gram per liter. So it's really not much. So yeah, we don't get sweetness. We don't really get sweetness out of the wood. What does work after a certain time is that when the spirit gets more and more concentrated. Let me show you. I have a small 50-liter cask here with me to explain that part. All right. So this is a 50-liter cask from an amazing sherry cask producer as well in Spain. And so what I love about wood aging is the fact that the cask is held together by these rings, basically, yeah? So there are no nails, nothing used. And then wood breathes. So you don't lose liquid, it's not dripping out, but it's still in exchange with the air the whole time. And you lose, like through the air, you lose like the angel chair, yeah? We talk about the angel chair all the time, which is a mixture of alcohol and water. So the longer you keep it in the cask, the more everything what remains in the cask gets more and more concentrated. And I like to compare this fact with like when you have a soup and you boil it down to a sauce, the more you boil it down, the richer the sauce is gonna be, and it's much thicker and more intense in terms of flavor. And the same thing happens basically in cask aging. So the beauty of cask aging is that you get an amazing thick concentration after like centuries of aging, which I love. Yeah, the longer you age it, the more you have that special effect, which is great. But this is like the wood extract concentration during the aging process. But still, when it comes to sweetness, we don't talk about much. You simply don't get much sweetness out of the wood through the aging, and that's basically a fact. So, yeah, there are quite a few illusions when it comes to cask aging, when it comes to cask finishings. As I just mentioned, when it comes to like this whole sherry cask market, which is basically all of it. It's basically an illusion. Let's continue with number 3, because when it comes to number 3, it's quite crazy. I have a lot to talk about number 3. Number 3, what we got from our information from our leaflet: Rum Club Red Barrel, 48%, degrees. Yeah, it's 2 to 15 years. It's a red wine finish, and it's a high ester rum from Jamaica. All right, so Jamaica is like this very special place, famous for high ester rums. Actually, Jamaica is not producing. Did you know? Jamaica is famous for high ester rums, like qualities like Hampton Estate and all of them, yeah? But Jamaica rum is not the most extreme high ester rum, because you have a regulation that high ester or rum from Jamaica may only contain a maximum of 1,600 grams per hectoliters of esters in rum. So it's regulated, and other countries, like basically nearly all of them, don't have this regulation. That's why, where I have it? Yeah, I have this cheeky little bottle here. Look at that. This, for example, it's Hogo Monster from Plantaray, where Plantaray, they bought the distillery, West Indies Rum Distillery, which is the biggest rum distillery in Barbados, and they started to producing high ester rum. And this one, how much is it? It's much more than Jamaica is allowed to produce. We have over 2,000 grams per hectoliter of ester. So it's a lot more even than DOC from Hampton Estate, which is pretty cool. It's very funky. It's insane, actually. It tastes insane, but it's cool. I like that fact that we are able to do much more. So yeah, even when Jamaica, we think about high ester rum, Jamaica is like the capital, for sure, yeah, the king of high ester rum, but there's more. And we're able to produce more. So what we have here, we have 1,000 esters, which is a lot. You know, it's not 1,600 is more than you need. It's only amazing that you're allowed to do even more, but 1,600 is more than enough. Yeah, you don't need more than that. And so we have 1,000 here, which you will experience now is already a lot. I love it. What do you think? You like it? You like the high ester rums? I think it's amazing. I need a bit of interaction of you guys. What do you think? You need to tell me about what do you think from the samples. Less is more, don't use sugar. Hello from Italy. Great tasting. Thank you, Leonardo. Italy. I'm gonna be soon in Italy. Yeah, my wife loves Italy, so we spent a lot of time in Italy. And by now I love Italy as well. We have always a good time. How much ester is in number 3? Yeah, Martin. Yeah, it's 1,000. So it's a lot. You have that ester richness in the nose, but then as well the oakiness, because as well the red wine was a Austrian red wine cask, which is French oak. So with French oak we get much more tannins into the wood. Why is that? Because normally when it comes to rum, it's quite similar to Scotch whiskey. You use mainly American oak, like ex-bourbon barrels, and American oak, as I described before, is 10 times higher when it comes to vanillin, which is amazing. You get these like vanilla cookie flavors and stuff, but you don't have much tannins, while the cask from European oak is much higher in tannins, which gives you an amazing structure and an amazing mouthfeel, which is great here. The base was aged in bourbon barrels, but then we have a part aging in European oak through the red wine barrel, which gives a nice tannin structure, which fights quite well with the high esters. And it's amazing to see, because like how esters, okay, what is high esters? Esters is something that, or esters, I think you say in English, right? Esters is something that develops during maturation or fermentation. So when we talk about fermentation, we think about like, okay, we got the yeast. The yeast eats the sugar and then goes to the toilet. Yeah, and alcohol comes out. All right, it's true, but it's very simple. Basically, there are many more things going on during fermentation. You have different types of fermentations even. And esters is basically, it has a lot, I'm missing the English word here, I'm sorry. It's basically, it has to do a lot with acid and acid changing. It's not the right word. I hope you, I do apologize for my English when I'm missing a few words. I'm used to talk about this in German mainly. We basically have this whole process. We have all these different products that are creating during fermentation, especially if you have enough acidity. You need to nourish your batch basically. And if the nutrition is right for the yeast, the more time you leave it, the more intense the flavor gets, yeah? And so you have this like rich batch, and then you distill it. This one is a pot still distillation. Pot still, it's a very simple type of distillation, the simplest form actually, which is as well the only form you can use to create Scotch malt whiskey. But when it comes to rum, there's no regulation. You can distill with any type of still the world has to offer. But very particular especially for Jamaican rum, is the use of pot still distillation. We have actually double retort pot still, which is, now it's getting a bit too nerdy, but which is basically a double pot still distillation in one, which is amazing. Very, very cool. It's a very old technique as well, which is not, they don't really build these stills anymore. So we have like the rich batch, which is then distilled in a very rich and aromatic and rustic way, which is important because if you want to transport character, or you need character to age something in a very intense way. If you only use like very light spirits, like a vodka for example, and you fill it in a cask, the cask will just overtake the spirit and it tastes like oak. But the richer your spirit is, the longer and more intense you're able to age it in wood, basically. So yeah, this is a perfect example to get like these ester notes fighting with like the woodiness and the richness, and yeah, I love it. 48% is a great number as well. You need to like it. I'm not expecting to, walk out on the street, handing this glass to like someone who has no experience when it comes to taste of spirits and just tells them, taste that, and I'm not expecting that he's gonna jump in my face and say, oh, that's so amazing. No, it's quite particular, isn't it? But me, for example, I love it. I think it's awesome. And what is great about this type of spirits, I love the variety, the complexity of rum. Like all these 3 samples we just tried, they have nothing to do like with each other, but all is rum, but basically the category is so complex itself. It could be like 3 different spirit categories. So awesome, isn't it? So cool. I love it. Jamaica rum Jamaica rum is a great example to show what rum has to offer. And that was the idea behind the tasting set. We didn't want to create a tasting set for you where every rum is going to be very pleasant, We wanted to show you what rum has to offer. The diversity, basically, of rum. Yeah. All right. Well, Martin, thank you very much for all your writing. Yeah. Without you, I would be lost here. Yeah. That's quite tricky, isn't it? To do like a YouTube live video, because I'm talking to this black box and you can't see me, but I can't see you. So yeah, I'm grateful, of course, when you send me like a few comments, if you let me know what do you think about the tasting, and if you engage with me a bit, that I don't feel so lonely here, right? But Martin, yeah, I'm grateful for you. You don't let me hanging here. What's a good starting point rum for a beginner? I would say, Miro, the first one. What I always do is I pour the first one and then ask them what they think, and then you can see from their reaction where the journey continues. If they say, no, it's a bit too strong for me, then I'm like, well, maybe you're not ready for neat spirit. Maybe you're gonna go to number 6, you're gonna experience soon, like more like liqueur style. If they say, well, yeah, it's nice, but it's a bit too sweet for me, they're already like ready for more. And it's very important. No, it's not important. It's interesting to see how the different cultures have a different understanding of what is good and what is a like entry level. For example, I grew up in Germany, but my mother's French, so I have the German and French influence. And what is interesting that, especially I'm from North Germany, and the food culture in France is much richer and much more intense when it comes to flavor. Yeah, the North German cuisine is very simple, straightforward, while the French cuisine was like they use like every part of the meat. They have thick sauces and it's very rich, you know. So even the French people who have nothing to do, in generally speaking, who have nothing to do, they have no experience with like spirits, but they can handle much stronger spirits, much stronger taste than, for example, on average, a person from North Germany, simply because they're used to taste all these complex foods compared to like an average German person. And it's the same thing with Italy or Spain, for example. These countries have, generally speaking, a better palate. Yeah, and I say that as a German person myself. So yeah, for example, in France, I would do a tasting in a different way than in Germany, on average speaking. If I don't know who is like part of the audience and stuff, that's what I would do. All right, yeah, okay, well now we go a bit crazy, yeah? Talking about France, now we got the French style, we got the rhum agricole. The three first rums, they're all based on molasses, which is like 98% of the rum industry is based on molasses. This is a style of rum we are used to in Germany, in like the northern countries, like in the kind of Scandinavian countries, in Britain and everything, yeah? Italy as well mainly. So all the big brands from like Zacapa to Diplomatico to Bacardi, they're all based on molasses. And molasses is basically like this thick liquid, which is a byproduct by the sugar production. So what we have is the sugarcane. Sugarcane looks a bit like bamboo, but a bit thicker. You cut it and then you press it. So you get the sugarcane juice. The sugarcane juice, you boil it down to get like the sugar content higher. Then you get rid of the sugar, you use the sugar, and what is left is a molasses. That's like a very simple way of describing it. And then the molasses, you use it for rum production. And as I said, 98% of world rum production is based on molasses. With French islands, it's a bit different. So we have a rum now from Martinique, and the French, they like their AOC, yeah? Appellation d'origine contrôlée. So everything is protected and regulated. And same with like Martinique and Guadeloupe and stuff, they got their own AOC. And in European law, like rhum agricole is from France, the French islands, and from Madeira. And they suggest that, no, they don't suggest, it's by law, you have to use the sugarcane which is grown on the island, pressed on the island, and they use the sugarcane juice itself, not the molasses. So you skip all that sugar making part and you keep all the sugar in the juice basically. And that's a whole different style of rum. Again, we have basically different spirit category. It's all rum, but it's a different spirit category. And I like that very much to showcase because it's like totally different and we get this like grassy herbal notes in the spirit, which is, I think is very cool. It's not, you know, there are a few geeks, of course, in European countries who like agricole, but if you look at sales numbers, agricole basically doesn't matter, which is a shame because it's great. The only exception is France itself. If you go to like mainland France and you go into a not like supermarket, it's full, like the shelves are full with rhum agricole. For like, in general speaking, for the German palate, it's not very suitable. So if I do a tasting, like in a room, and I ask the people, okay, what do you think? Like out of 20 people, one person on average think that agricole is great. The other 19 don't like it. Me, for example, I love it. I really like all kind of rums, I have to say. I like to say I like every spirit as long as it's made in a good way, or as long as it's good, basically. So what we have now, it's not just a rhum agricole. It's from Martinique, which was aged for 4 years on Martinique in ex-bourbon barrels, but then it was aged in a pear cask. Like pear, you know, the fruit. So it's the fruit wood then was aged inside that cask. Isn't that crazy? How cool is that? Pear wood is actually a pain in the ass. You can't believe how complicated that wood is. That's why you don't find barrels very often of pear wood, because it's simply too difficult to work with. But yeah, you can smell, no? What do you think? Can you smell it in the nose? Yeah. It's different, isn't it? Have you ever experienced something like this? I haven't. Before I tried pear wood, of course, but yeah, it's very different. It changes everything, and that's what I love. That's what I love about like cask aging, because it's not just, you know, it's not just how long you leave something in a cask. It's about, all right, you have all these factors. What used to be in the barrel? How old is the wood? How well was the wood washed? How long there used to be something else inside? Where do you age it? Like the spirit itself. If you age it in the Caribbean compared to like Scotland, that's a whole different story. Like the work between the rum and the wood, it's like literally 3 times higher on average in the Caribbean compared to Scotland, which is intense. The aging itself, it's not 3 times higher, because there are like certain factors like the changing of esters, which takes time, and where the temperature doesn't increase much, or it doesn't have a huge effect. But other things, if you use different climate, the effect is very different. And then at the same time, what is basically unheard of so far in the spirit world, and if you ask me, we're lacking a lot of the use of different types of wood. It's basically still just the beginning of what is possible through cask aging, because we only have we always use American or like European oak. We use like you know, second fill whatever. So there used to be like a sherry inside, red wine inside, port wine inside, but honestly, basically that's it. Then first fill, second fill, blah blah blah. But it's still, we're just scratching the surface basically. There's so much more, as you can tell with this one. We use a totally different type of wood, and it changes everything. How cool is that? Do you like it? Yeah, thank you, Martin. As you said, it's something completely different. Yeah. And yeah, Leonardo, what was the story from Barbados you showed us before the bottle that has? It's weird. I don't know. It's literally called Weird. WIERD. West Indies Rum Distillery. That's a distillery. They are like maybe a little bit famous. They produce like Malibu, you know, the coconut rum, and they produce as well the Bumbu rum. Actually, it's like, it's not their brand. They produce it for someone else, but they are actually producing it as well. And yeah, they are owned by Plantaray. So by now they produce the Plantaray Barbados rum as well. So yeah, I mean, how cool is that? I love the fact of all these type of things that are possible through cask aging. Love it. Actually, I've done. Yeah, let me show you. Let me show you. You can get this at Whisky.com as well. You know why I can tell you so much about cask aging? I told you already that I'm basically working a lot when it comes to experiments in cask aging. Why I have all these big collections. So what I did is I did this like journey with casks. I had myself build a new cask out of every type of wood I could get. And this, my dear friends, is a result. So what I did is, every cask is new, around like 225 liters, never filled with anything else, all medium toasted. And then I filled the same rum in each cask, let it age, and then I made a tasting set out of it, so that you are able to experience yourself the different influence, not the influence of the different types of wood. And so yeah, we have like mulberry and different types of oak and chestnut and walnut and all these kind of things. And what we did is we have like a QR code, you scan it, and I'm basically doing a tasting with like the master cooperage. Here it is, Markus Eder. So we explain everything about like the chemical compounds of the wood, how the influence of the region and everything, with all the information of the wood, who made the barrel and everything. So yeah, it's a little, if I might say so, a little masterpiece about cask aging. It's a whole education program about cask aging. where, because there's no literature about cask aging or anything. It's totally missing. There hasn't been a lot of research or anything. We don't really know what we're doing, but well, until now. So yeah, this is like a huge, yeah, how can you say? It's very big to my heart. Can you say that? And yeah, the Whisky.com still has a few tasting sets. It's called Fachsprache. Yeah, let's see. Let me write it down for you. So cool. I'm so proud of it. It's, yeah, I love it. And this shows you Fachsprache. That's the one. And that shows you how amazing wood is and how, as I described before, how much we are only scratching the surface because there's so much more possible. Awesome. All right, guys, are you ready for number 5? Let's go to single cask, well, cask strengths. I love cask strengths. Cask strengths is amazing. It's beautiful to see how the effect on alcohol, what the effect of alcohol is on taste. I like to compare this with, like, you know, I use examples like if you have a brownie and you have it like without sugar and less butter and stuff, how it simply tastes shit. You know, I don't like it. If you give me something sweet, if I want a dessert, I want it properly, you know? If you give me a cheesecake, do it right. Yeah, I don't want these half whatever. Yeah. I prefer to skip it then. Yeah, before you give me something, you know, fettarm, we say in German. Don't like that word. So yeah, basically all these like salt and sugar and fat, like the grease, yeah, and alcohol, they have the ability of like increasing flavor. But I still, the best example for me is like low fat versus regular fat when it comes to alcohol, low alcohol versus high alcohol. Because like you don't just increase the taste, you change the structure and everything. So I just love it. I love, like, I eat full fat yogurt. I eat my steak with, like, you know, a lot of fat. I love it. And the same when it comes to spirits. And what alcohol does is, like, high alcohol content just increases, lifts everything up. Of course, you need something that is there to be lifted up. Yeah, if you have like a neutral spirit or a boring spirit, more alcohol won't help because it's just, you know, there's nothing there, so you can't lift something up. But what we have now is select the cask community, the SCC, and we have a 10 years old rum from Foursquare, Barbados, which was then aged for 3 months in a Madeira cask, and it's bottled at 54.7%. So in cask strengths, yeah. And I just love what that does to the rum. So we have this like intense oak notes. What do you think? I'm missing a bit the Madeira wine, right? So if you would give me this in a blind tasting, I wouldn't tell you that it's a Madeira cask. It's very intense when it comes to the wood. And you get this amazing richness. So I told you, it's SCC, yeah? Selected Cask Community. But let me tell you a bit about what is Selected Cask Community. It's like an old project I've done in the past. So what I did, you know, you got these, like, is that the right English word? Abonnement? Abo? Yeah? Subscription. It's a subscription basically. But instead of a magazine, you get like a bottle. So what I did, every month we released a single cask. We filled it in like these, yeah, the label is it's a bit old. And we released it, and we filled it in these like very small, very simple bottles of 100 ml, yeah, with all the informations on the label. Like this one is, again, it's a Barbados Foursquare single cask, yeah, 5 years ex-bourbon and then ex-sauterne, bottled at 55.4%. So you had a subscription, you paid 10 euros a month, can you believe it? We did like 2018 and 2019. You paid 10 euros per month and you received this without any shipping costs. Like in 10 euros, everything was included. Like this, you had the chance to try a new sample, to try a new cask, to try something new without spending a fortune. And then if you liked it, you were able to buy like a half-liter bottle. And as you can see, we skipped everything. There was no more merchants involved. We used the cheapest bottle, the cheapest like screw tab on the market. We printed the labels ourselves just to make sure that you get the best price value per liter possible. So like half-liter bottle, cask strength, single cask from Foursquare was like 34 euros. Can you believe it? It's insane. That's one of the reasons I got bankrupt back in the days. But hey, you know, for my customers, it was an amazing time. And after that, like many people ask me, well, okay, that's pretty cool what you do, and I'm grateful that I'm able to try all these things, yeah, without having to pay for a full bottle, even though I'm not sure if I'm gonna like it. So that's great. But after we finished that, like that series, the people were like, okay, I'm ready now for like a cask strength bottling. What would you recommend? And I couldn't tell them what they should buy, literally. You know, because like the problem was that all these great single cask bottlings, they were like gone way too fast, or they were simply too expensive. So I simply couldn't recommend anything. So what I did was I created something like an entry-level cask strength bottling. So what we did is we aged different casks, like many casks together, and then we make big batches. So like this, we bring out a constant quality of like a cask strength rum with 54.7 ABV for 40 euros a bottle. I mean, it's a 10 years old Foursquare in cask strength. How cool is that? For 40 euros, you know? So like that, we get like a entry-level rum quality in not like a price entry level with an amazing rum. You like it? I hope you like it, and so that you have something for people who want to have an experience with like cask strengths. Of course, these bottles you can find them at Whisky.com. Yeah, you find the links under this video, and yeah, I hope you are so satisfied with that stuff like me, because I love the effect the higher alcohol content has on the spirit. I think it's great. The richness, you know. And again, not again, I haven't mentioned it before, the, you know, cask strengths can go up in like crazy dimensions, but this one particular, for a cask strength, it's quite smooth, isn't it? Considering we have 54.7%, considering we have cask strengths, it's good. Love it. I have to say, it's my favorite type of drinking strengths. If I'm only able to drink like one drinking strength for the rest of my life, I would choose cask strength. I think it's great. I don't need it all the time. I appreciate like diluted qualities, because we have to remember that you know, on average, like you buy the mainstream bottle, it's like 40%, 40 ABV, but that's always diluted down with water, right? So it depends on the type of distillation we use. The alcohol content is much higher anyway, up to like close to 96 degrees when it comes to rum. It needs to be by law a bit less. But still, we are able to distill up to 95.7, and this remains more vodka than rum, yeah? And even with like very rustic out of distillation, you're able to produce like 58%, but it's quite rare. So mainly, you are basically something between 72 and 95 on average. Then what we do very often is we dilute it down with water for the cask aging process. We do that in general. The perfect ABV actually for oak is 63 degree, because like very often you hear that the higher the alcohol content, the more you get out of the wood, which is actually wrong. You need to separate between like water dissolving liquids, water dissolving parts and alcohol dissolving parts. I like to compare that with sugar. If you take sugar, for example, and you pour it into like a tablespoon of sugar in a glass of water and a tablespoon of sugar in a glass of vodka, you stir both up, you will see that the sugar in the glass of water gets dissolved so much faster, because sugar is like water dissolving, not alcohol dissolving. And the same thing is true with wood, that there are certain parts that gets obtained better by wood, and other parts get obtained better by water. That's why 63 degree is like the perfect balance between both aspects. All right, so guys, what we got? Not sure if I like number 4. Must taste it again. Yeah, that's for sure. I didn't get why Horse doesn't like cask strengths. No, I really don't. I don't really get it either. I think cask strength is absolutely amazing. Still a little ester in there, perhaps. Yeah, I mean, yeah, a bit. It's a different type of ester, but yeah, a bit. Good evening, folks. Rum can be absolutely delicious when made well. Yeah, you said something quite well. I believe Whiskey Newspaper that I like to say every spirit category is great if you do it properly, if you do it well. Very smooth. How much ABV are you allowed to sell? Any. You can sell any ABV. Well, I'm not sure how it is with US laws, but in Europe you can sell any. I think the max for rum process is 95.7 degrees, but you are basically able to sell rum with 95.7 in Europe. There's no limit. All right, guys, let's get to the last drop of our rum tasting. It's basically like with a proper meal, it's our dessert at the end. We have the number 6, which is like it's a rum liqueur, it's very simple. It's a very simple product. You have aged rum with a bit of sugar and then infused only 100% with proper, real vanilla pods from Madagascar. There's no artificial flavor, there's no extract, nothing. It's a whole pot, which is used for that. Let me show you. We were quite drunk when we designed this. This is like the brand, yeah? It's Ida van der Ille, which sounds a bit Dutch maybe, but actually you know what the idea was. Let me show you. Look, isn't that cute? It's called vanille. It's just Mark's vanille. It's like the hidden word vanille inside the name. We thought it's very funny. Imagine getting presented this idea while having a glass. You do realize the next day that it was more funny the day before, but I still love it. Yeah. So yeah, it's a very simple, straightforward product. It's something we like to call it in German Frühstücksrum, which means breakfast rum. You know why? Because you can drink it all day. There's actually, I forgot to mention in the last video, this is perfect for vodka, for espresso martini. Skip the vodka, you don't need vodka anyway. It's quite boring. No, it's not quite boring, it's boring. Instead of vodka, use this. It's so cool. It makes like the best vodka martini ever. You can pour that in your espresso in the morning. If you have grumpy colleagues at work, you just pour them that in the coffee. Every day is going to be much better. Yeah, you literally, you can, it's instead of a dessert, don't think of it like, oh yeah, am I having a single malt whiskey or this? Well, these are two different products, you can't, if you're in the mood for single malt whiskey, don't drink this. But yeah, this is, I like it, it's fun. It's 20 euros a bottle, It's cool, isn't it? Yeah. I think it's great. It's a little sweet treat at the end of a tasting, which smooths everything down. Amazing. I'm a whiskey lover. I haven't gotten the tasting set, but you're teaching me a lot about rum. Well, I'm glad, Leonardo. You should. I think we still have a few tasting sets left. It only cost you this, what I just did here with you. It's only 20 quid, 20 euros. There's a link under the video where you can still buy a tasting set. So Leonardo, feel free. I'm glad that I was able to teach you a bit. Feel free to get a tasting set. And I hope it was okay with my English. It's I'm actually in German. I talk much faster. I talk very fast in German. And I got much more repetition to explain things, of course. So I hope everything was quite understandable. And thank you for your feedback, Leonardo. I'm glad that I was able to get a few information through to you. So yeah, thank you for spending the evening. Did you know that Whisky.com told me like, yeah, you got like the hour for the tasting, so we're only gonna do 4. And I told them, no. We do the whole thing, all right? We do the whole thing, and look at us. Yeah, we are close to, like, basically, we needed exactly 1 hour, and we got all 6 samples. So I'm glad to have spent the evening with you. I'm glad that we did all 6 samples, that we got the whole thing covered. And thank you for spending the time, for taking the time. And who knows, maybe. Don't worry about Ben. Ben is doing well. Yeah, so Ben will be back soon. We don't know exactly when he will be back, but he will be back soon. But yeah, it was great. It was good fun. We did actually I did some videos with Ben as well, where we tried my rum qualities I'm making, which was good fun. I like that very much, talking with Ben, being in his headquarters, because as you can see, this is a different setup compared to like the normal Whisky.com setup, because we are here in my chambers, basically in my chambers, that's the word. So yeah. Thank you very much, and yeah, who knows, maybe we're gonna see each other very soon. For me, it would be, yeah, would be glad.